Blessings, blessings. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me give a warm welcome. We have the owner and CEO of Integrity Global Enterprises, doing business as Mother Earth's Blessing Holistic Life Center in Atlanta, producer and host of the Meeting of the Inner Circle, Talk Radio 89.3 FM, WRFG Atlanta, dealing specifically with the issues of our liberation, salvation, deliverance, and are being able to respond correctly and directly to being a direct global initiative of depopulation and genocide. Thank you so much, Mother Adama Alaji, the Heraldess of the Eternal Order. We welcome you.
Thank you so much. Bless your heart. Yes.
Wow.
And so how familiar with me are you?
I just got familiar very recently, and I love your name because I didn't know what it meant. I would love to learn what is the meaning of Adama Alaji.
Well, Adama is Spirit Earth Mother. Alaji is one who cures.
One who cures. Okay. So Spirit Earth Mother, one who cures.
Yes.
That's quite the combination.
Yes, it is.
Yes, yes.
Should I turn this sideways so I can see myself better? I just get all of this feed on here. Is there any way
Oh,
to clear
well,
that
if you
out?
turn it sideways, then you'll be sideways for us.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Yeah, yeah. No worries, no worries. Is there a
Okay.
stand or someplace that it'll stand on?
Yeah, let me see if I can figure that one out.
No worries, no worries. Okay,
Okay.
there we go.
All
There we
right.
go. Perfect.
Very
Perfect.
good. Very good.
Yes. And I usually don't do a whole lot of preparation. Like I usually enjoy just the flow of conversation. But today I did prepare. I did bring questions.
Okay, very good. May I try to hear you without these and see how that works for me?
Of course. Of course. Okay. Hello.
Yeah, hold on. You hear me better now?
I can hear you much better. Actually, it's much clearer.
Okay, very good. All righty then. So your questions are,
Yes, yes. So some of them I'm sure you're probably familiar with, but first I want to ask you, since you talked about, the one who heals, Spirit Earth Mother, you have held this title of the heraldess of the establishment of the Eternal Order for many years. How did you first receive this title of heraldess of the Eternal Order? How did you first receive or accept the mantle? And what does it signify to you personally?
well, actually, I've been doing radio with WRFG 89.3 FM for about 25 years. And so starting in 1999, after I closed my boutique and strict vegetarian restaurant. And so once I got into the years of it, people would call me queen, and Adama also means queen. And they'd also, so it's like they would call me queen, they would call me goddess, they would call me priestess. They would want to call me something. And I said, Adama is fine. It means spirit, earth, mother. But if you must call me something, then refer to me as the heraldess.
Okay.
And to herald means that you are announcing, you are calling, to herald in. So the heraldess of the eternal, I am the one to remind us that we are already in the realm of eternity.
Okay.
We have our feet on the ground so much that we forget that we're in space,
Mhm.
and that the space that we're in is actually the ocean of nothing but cosmic intelligence in our being, very much in the presence of this absolute and supreme intelligence that ones would refer to as God. But
Right.
I refer to it as the all there is, the cosmic I am, the absolute and supreme intelligence that constitutes the whole of existence itself.
Yes.
So I'm reminding us of what and who and whose we are.
Yes. Yes. A wonderful reminder. So just helping us remember, like bringing the members back together, this unity consciousness, the I am, the great I am. I love this because, I saw one of your talks on YouTube recently, and it was a couple weeks ago that I seen you put up a talk, and during that you were talking about wholeness and that we must be conscious of what we put after the words I am, you
Yes,
know.
yes,
Yes, indeed, indeed. So when you're talking about cosmic intelligence, this unity consciousness and the I am, were these things that, I mean, because like you said with your name, it sounds like there were things that were attributed, priestess, goddess, queen, mother, but it sounds like you self-proclaimed that if you must call me something, let it be the Heraldess. So that sounds like a self-proclaimed, title that you wore the mental, like you're carrying that on your shoulders, carrying the message. So when you were in younger years, did you always have this consciousness? Did you always have the vibration of being the one who heralds, the one who announces these messages?
well, I'll put it this way. From the time I was very young, I've always known that there was something wrong here.
Hmm.
Here being in the world where we are on the ground, And so after so many years of consistency of knocking and asking and seeking and applying myself, then you come into greater and greater degrees of realization. So when I changed my diet at the age of 20 at the University of Florida, then I realized then that there was nothing for me to live here for, because I refused to just be working a job for the next 40 to 50, 60 years of life, trading men like you trade shoes, and then bearing children to go serve the purposes of Satan, Lucifer, and the devil. And so I made certain commitments, and the commitments that I made at that point in time was, let me live to make a difference in this world, or let me not live at all.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so those commitments brought me into the frequency of an elder Igbo Nigerian by the name of Josiah Oswago.
Mhm.
When I was about 21, after I had graduated University of Florida, and I moved to Atlanta February of 80.
Okay.
And so I met him then, and he gave his literature to my cousin and myself. And then after I made commitments to bring forth my son, because, I was a little girl who was like, what do you want to be when you grow up, little girl? A woman. And so I realized that I was really a woman at this point, but I did not feel all of what I thought I should feel. And I would not feel that until motherhood. And so once I prayed to have this particular man's son, which I asked for his son, right? Then in my 3rd month of pregnancy, Dr. Lila Africa brought me back to this same African elder. And that's when I started my spiritual studies with him. Dr. Africa was also studying with him. There were maybe 7 to 21 of us here in Atlanta who were studying with him. I'm the one who kind of took it into heart and ran with it.
Okay.
And the thought is being conscious of our cosmic citizenship. The earth herself is a citizen of the cosmic. All right. We cannot be citizens of a corporation. You can be an agent, you can be an employee, but you cannot be a citizen of a corporation. We are citizens of the cosmic. All right. And because we did not come up out the earth, so some people will think that in the funerals, they say, from the dust you've come, unto the dust you return. But we did not come up out the dirt. So the dust does not refer to the earth.
Mm.
The dust actually refers to the cosmic.
Okay.
And so our already being in the cosmic, it is where we're having to reorient ourselves, as opposed to being in the belly of the beast, as opposed to being in America, as opposed to being in something. You are always, and we each are always in the presence of this absolute and supreme intelligence that is beginningless, endless, infinite, and eternal. There isn't anything that is not.
Mm.
Now, by virtue of our having been misled, religiously indoctrinated, miseducated, and socialized under death culture, which is the escalation of somebody's world conquering rampage through imperialism that became capitalism under this lie of white supremacy, then the whole intention is to make sure that we are oppressed at the cellular level so that we are not able to walk in the integrity of our own authenticity and our authority as these points of the presence of this absolute and supreme intelligence, even though that's our truth.
Okay.
All right. So in the right world, in the right realm, self-knowledge, creator knowledge, and creation knowledge is that which we're all entitled to. But they dissipated, they took that away. They defiled the integrity of the divine feminine. We were raped and beaten and sodomized and turned into other things other than women who are responsible and entrusted by the cosmic to ensure the perpetuation of the lineages.
Wow. Wow.
And so we know that at that time, and we can't really make a proper estimation as to how many hundreds of years ago that took place, but we know that great, 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 great were already birthing babies and birthing intelligence that were building civilizations long before these ones came out of caves.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So where we are now in seeing the continued violation, degradation, the usurpation of the integrity, the life currency through this garbage that they call food, where the methodology of our oppression has been to oppress our cellular functioning. So we're made with 37 more trillions of cells, which are made with even more atoms. So we're atomic by nature. But when we're full of sludge, when we're full of the flesh of violated creatures, when the primary law is thou shalt not kill,
Right. Right.
then we have been charged with violation. That violation is now charged upon our blood.
Right.
And that, in addition to our having been fed like kids, not nourished as children, has put us in a place where by 21, we're completely adulterated. We know shame, game, guilt, blame, and we have experienced and done things that we don't discuss with people, right? And
Right.
in that adulteration, we are unable to really feel the inherent blessedness, to really feel the inherent birthright, to really feel the divinity, the sanctity, and the sacredness of who and whose we are. And
Yes.
so I am voice on behalf of our liberation. I am voice on behalf of our resurrection. I am the one who is reminding us that perfection is an inherent part of existence. We were perfectly and divinely designed. That justice is an inherent part of existence. It does not depend upon a jury of anybody deciding anything. And law is an inherent part of existence. And to have been under the auspices of those who do not acknowledge law, do not respect the law that is an inherent part of existence itself, and have perpetuated their lawlessness throughout the realm, throughout the world being the mental sphere that has been propagated through imperialism, colonialism, the lie of white supremacy, and the society that basically is death culture. So we've been taught to believe that death is the natural culmination, finality, eventuality, unavoidability, destiny, and fate of what it is to have lived here. And I'm saying we are already in the realm of eternity.
Right.
The heavens are above us and around us and below us. The earth herself is as big as a period at the end of a sentence in relationship to the rest of this realm in which we're spinning.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Yes, I remember listening to you saying that, there's always eternity in the now moment, like in the right now moment.
Right.
We have eternity, you
We
know.
are in eternity. So because we did not come up out the ground, we came into this realm through the sacred fluids of our mother's womb, sparked by the sacred fluid of our fathers. But
Yeah.
we have been defiled to the degree to which we do not acknowledge the sacredness, the sanctity, and the divinity of being,
Okay.
of all being.
Right. Right. Thank you, Mother Adama. Thank you just for, there's so much to unpack. Like, there's so much, just the way that you speak. I mean, just it feels like liberation on all fronts, on all sides, like freedom, just freedom from all oppression, from everything, from all subjugation and all levels, And I just, I'm listening to you and I'm like, wow, if I had transitioned when I was 20 years old, you said you changed your diet at 20, and you
Yes.
said that was when you went fully into veganism, or were there steps like vegetarianism, veganism? Were there steps, or did you just fully go into it at 20 years old?
Well, I'll put it this way. I did not make a distinction at that time about veganism. Veganism is the terminology that came through the UK for those who will not wear leather. They don't wear leather. They don't have leather in their interiors. They will not have leather furniture. They will not have suede and leather coats or purses or bags.
Mhm.
So I've never been vegan like that.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so being strict, coming into strict vegetarianism, there were, I would say, a period of about maybe one or two instances or so after college where I may have tried this or that, but for the most part, fresh fruit. I went from eating everything to having fresh fruit in the morning, huge salads in the evening, sometimes soups or cornbread or whole wheat toast or whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
so, but that allowed me, while I was in school at the University of Florida, 30,000 students, 1,500 Black.
Mm.
Blacks didn't start going to the University of Florida till 1972.
Wow.
Did it in the class of 1975.
Wow.
So in my junior year, the statistics of our disproportionate percentage of sickness, illness, disease, degradation, incarceration, juvenile delinquency, abortion, teenage pregnancy, single-headed households, all of that was the impetus for why it is I started really knocking, asking, and seeking, even though from the time I was little, I did not want to eat meat, even though from the time I was little, I was throwing my parents' cigarettes and alcohol away. But at 20, I'm smoking, I'm drinking, I'm still eating meat. So I realized whose businesses these are.
Okay.
Of the death industries, a personal economic boycott of the death industries, the meat, the dairy, the eggs, the chicken, the fish, the alcohol, the tobacco, the Lay's potato chips, and Nabisco. All of these things are co-conspiring. These are what I refer to as the tools of the devil. And then Satan, the church, the deceiver, the wolf in sheep's clothing, and then the Luciferians, which are the governments, the ones who act as if they have the people's best interests at heart. And of course, everybody came out of their mother's womb, sparked by the divine frequency of their father's life currency. But everybody was fed the flesh of dead animals, the aborted fetuses of chickens, the pus and mucus of cows, breakfast cereals, cow's milk, all of this. So everybody, no matter how much education they have, no matter how much stature they have, no matter what their educational or spiritual accolades are, for all intensive purposes, we have not seen anybody that walked as a liberated being.
Okay.
Everybody is serving their own oppression.
Okay.
Which is why we've not created anything greater, no matter how much education we had, because everybody's blood was poisoned.
Right, right. And you know, it's interesting. I just had a conversation about being raised in the church. You know, myself being raised in the church, we used to sing songs about there's power in the blood, you know,
Right.
there's power in the blood. That was a song, that was one of the hymns that we used to sing in the church, but I never really read into it more than just the words. I never really thought about the tremendous power, the wonder working power in the blood, you know,
Right.
in the blood.
And the spirit is actually charged upon the blood.
Mm.
And so our coming to a point where we are literally realizing that the methodology of our oppression has been to contaminate and pollute the bloodstream.
Yeah.
So as long as the blood is contaminated and polluted, then no matter how much education, how much scriptural scriptures and all of this that one may know, there's no way to live in the integrity of the truth of oneself. That's where liberation actually is where the intelligence of our being has been completely freed so that we function as intelligence does, always in its own best interest, always exalting a full effort in its living, doing nothing to undermine itself, having an understanding that oneself is all there is. So to do against another is to do unto oneself, because there's only oneself.
Right. Right. No, it makes perfect sense. It makes
Right?
perfect sense.
Now,
And
go ahead.
well, even as you were speaking as well, we had Sophia here, and Sophia was commenting saying that even breast milk is made from the blood. It's a derivative of the blood. She was saying about breast milk, you know, feeding a child with the breast milk coming from the blood stream. So, you know, when you're talking about the oppression at a cellular level and even a cellular level, the oppression, when you're saying Mother Adama at 5 years old, that you had the intuition, like your intuitive nature to shy away from animal flesh, you know, at 5 years old, and then, you know, be throwing away alcohol and cigarettes from your parents at that time, and then later on going into this. What would you call that, you know, at such a young age? Is that just, do we come into this world already knowing these things?
You know, I have a memory as a child, as a very young child, of being told, literally, you're going into the realm of the flesh eaters.
Mm.
All right. But I went through major open heart surgery at 4.
Whoa.
Right. So that the surgery, I had exploratory surgery, 40 pints of blood transfusion, major surgery. With the major surgery, where they were taking this sort of a plastic-like substance to mesh the hole that they found at the age of 4. All right, but I'm just saying, I am as intense as I am because I've survived many things. One was termination. My mother had scheduled the abortion with me for Monday morning, 8 o'clock, and the doctor here in Atlanta was arrested midnight Sunday night.
Can you say that again?
My mother had scheduled to terminate her pregnancy with me, so she was going to abort me.
And the doctor.
Her appointment was for Monday morning, 8 o'clock, and the doctor was arrested Sunday night at midnight.
Whoa. Oh
So,
my God.
so that's my first salvation. 4 years later, I'm in Detroit, not well. Not well. Nobody knew what was wrong until we moved next door to an African-American sister by the name of Dr. Lulabelle Stewart,
Yes.
who discovered the murmur, scheduled the exploratory surgery, found the murmur, did the blood transfusion, all of that, fattened me up. And then the day of the major surgery, the hospital floor catches fire while my chest is open. I turn completely blue. They tell my mother, we're sorry, we've lost her. There's nothing we can do, but we will put her in an oxygen tent. And if she lives, she'll be a human vegetable. Because according to them, people do not survive without severe brain damage if the brain has been starved of oxygen for more than 20 minutes. I had turned completely blue. So my mother had to make commitments for my life that she had not made up until this point. And the commitments that my mother made for me, Lord, let my baby live, and I promise you that she will live to do your work. She didn't just say it once. She learned to pray without ceasing. See, these are the things that we're having to remember, things that we've heard all of our lives in terms of, in the beginning, there was the Word was God, the Word was with God. We haven't learned to empower our word because the body is no longer 80% highly charged mineralized water that can hold the frequency of the power of our word. And we don't have the levity of thought to be able to decree and declare a thing because we have not remembered who and whose we are.
Wow.
And the divisiveness that has been founded through religion. So in order for the traditional things in Islam and Christianity to be established, they were established in bloodshed. People don't remember this. They were established in bloodshed. And then the things like the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses and all of these ones came from Old York to New York under the Masonic frequencies.
Okay.
By white men. Right? So I'm just saying is that that's really the first level of the divisiveness, so that we're Christians, we're Hebrews, we're any of the demonic nations of Christianity, all roads lead back to Rome. And so at this particular point, we're having to remember that we are not the creation of men. Men did not shape us. They did not mold us. They did not birth us. Really, we are these points of an absolute and supreme intelligence that is beginningless, endless, infinite, and eternal. And now is our time to be restored. But the restoration is not going to come. The redemption is not going to come. The repentance is not going to be full until we're completely cleared, cleansed, purified, renewed, rebirthed, regenerated, rejuvenated, revitalized, revivified, and create a bloodstream that bears no violation of violated beings, inebriates, intoxicants, and all of those things that have put us in a place where our behavior has been modified so that we have not been able to respond correctly and directly to being under siege.
Ashe, Ashe. My goodness, my goodness. You know, when Mother Adama, when you speak, it's like I feel like my cells are being satiated with light. Like you're speaking light energy. This is light work, you know? Like you're a light worker with your voice, your energy frequency that you emit. This is an energy, this is a transmission, you know? This is like a transmission that you're putting out right now. And can you hear me?
Yes.
My goodness, you know, I feel like the more I'm listening to you, the more my body is like things are coming online. It's almost like you're unlocking, you're deprogramming to reprogram. Your voice has power. You know, there's not just conviction, but cosmic consciousness. Like you're bringing this intelligence to the world, and I can only be thankful and grateful that things went another way, that the doctor got arrested for what these, you know, these unforeseen circumstances, that the hospital floor was on fire, and then there's a murmur and you're rushed into this. You're a walking miracle. You're a miracle, you know?
In addition to being hit by cars on 2 separate occasions and almost drowning in the Atlantic Ocean at 14. So I'm just saying the prayers that my mother prayed for me kept me safe through all of that. Until I made the commitments myself at 20. Let me live to make a difference in this world, or let me not live at all. But I refuse to be a slave.
Okay. Okay. So first she made the commitment, and then you made the commitment. When you were able, you made the commitment, let me live. And, you know, when we're talking about, of course, you know, living to eat versus eating to live, what do you feel like when you're talking about cellular clearing, cleansing, renewal. Could you walk someone through, like, how would you say someone should begin the process in practical terms, like especially for people who are new to holistic health when it comes to just the renewal of the body? Like you said, rejuvenation, revitalization, revivifying. You know, you've given me new words for my arsenal.
Very
You
good.
know, you've given me new words, new language for my lexicon. Thank you.
You're
Can you
welcome.
just talk about, yeah, how someone should begin that process?
We have to, one, realize that death is not an option.
Mm.
All right. People change their diets. All right. But in the 47 years I've been in one community, strict vegetarian, consistently refining, I've seen so many ones pass away.
Right.
Because it's not just about changing the diet. It's about consecrating the body. It's about remembering who and whose you are. It's about making commitments to honor the lineages through whom we've come. It requires a whole other degrees of care to walk in the light of the truth of the ones that we are, on behalf of all of those ones who could not, on behalf of all of the blood that has been spilled here. So no, we start with commitments. Because just changing the diet and thinking that, oh, well, I just want to change my diet. I just want to get off these blood pressure medicines. Oh, I just want to clean myself up. Oh, I want to lose this weight. Oh, the doctor put me on prescription. Oh, I've got this, I've got that, I've got all of that. Whatever brings you to the point where you realize that you need to do differently, the difference is committing to your life and committing to the laws that govern your life. And remembering that you're perfectly and divinely designed, and you're not designed to be eating the flesh of dead animals, the aborted fetuses of chickens, the pus and mucus of cows, artificial colors, artificial flavors, all of the pus and whatnot that comes from the rice, the breads, the beans, the potatoes, all of the yams and all of that stuff. And people who are vegetarian, they left the meat, but they became carbohydratarians, or they became vegans and they're eating a bunch of vegan stuff that's made in plants. So not made by plants, made in plants. And so I'm just saying we're water-based beings.
Yes.
The
Yes.
earth is 80% water. Our body should be reconstituted to being 80% water.
Mm.
All right. Now, everybody has been influenced by this death culture, but everybody is in a different place, because you have some who are skinny, and then some who are huge.
Right.
Right. Everybody's been eating the same stuff, but everybody needs cleansing. The issue is really respecting the reality that the body itself is cleansing daily. Mm-hmm. So from the day we came out our mother's womb, somebody bathed us until we could bathe ourselves. 730 days later, where we had our teeth, then they taught us to brush our teeth. So unless there were some extenuating circumstances, most of us have probably brushed our teeth and bathed outside the body, up under the arms, between the toes, between the legs, crack of the buttocks. Every day of our lives, maybe 2 or 3 times a day based on our activities, right? But the body was cleansing the entire time. But every day that we got up and we put something else down our throats other than water, herbal teas, the internal cleansing clays, many of us were craving clay. We didn't know what it was. We thought we were craving chalk, cornstarch, argo starch. They call it pica. Right? But that was the DNA kicking in. But you have to really understand the body is literally initiating its cleansing when we rise. Right. So we want to initiate our cleansing when we rise. Right. We don't want to eat oatmeal. We don't want to have buckwheat and whole wheat pancakes or cashew cereal, or you understand, or granola with almond milk and all of this, or just eggs or scrambled tofu, or all, you understand, because the body never cleanses. But the body is trying to cleanse. It's just that the cleaner we eat, the more the toxins are being loosened up. If we are not consistently aggressive about opening up the channels of elimination so that these toxins can get out, then the body is going to try to protect itself, and it isolates these poisons, and it becomes cysts and tumors and boils and fibroids.
Yes. Yes. That's what happened to my mother as well. you know. So this is very familiar territory in the family, you know, familiar
Exactly.
for sure. And just, you know, as you're saying these things, like, my goodness, just the language that you use, and just when you're giving a visual, because the words that you speak really give a visual, like they really give, I can see these words that you're speaking, it's just hitting, you know, my brain, and you're giving vivid pictures of like the aborted, you said the
Yeah,
aborted,
fetuses of chickens.
yeah, the aborted fetuses of chickens, and the pus and mucus of cows and pigs. And like when we're talking about these things, you know, you don't hear people say they're eating cows. You know, you hear them say, I'm eating beef. You
Right.
know, you don't hear them say, I'm eating pigs. You hear them say, I'm eating ham or pork chops or pork. You know, like, do you feel like the language, because you're very intentional about your language, do you feel like the language has caused a lot of that separation between a life, you know,
Exactly.
a living being?
Exactly. And our disconnect in that we didn't kill it. We didn't raise it. We didn't kill it. We didn't love it. We have depended upon those who beat us, raped us, enslaved us, sodomized us, set us afire, whipped us, chained us, cut our pregnant bellies open. They're still cutting our pregnant bellies open, and we depend upon them to feed us. And I talk to brothers a lot. I'm saying, well, as a man, if this is how you are to eat, then you would take responsibility for feeding your families. You would take responsibility. This would be something that black men would do. But this is not what we do. We barber, we do our hair, we do our tailoring, we do, you know what I'm saying? We used to make our own shoes. We used to do a lot of things, but raising, you know, hundreds of thousands of head of pigs, cows, chicken, all of that is not something we do. We're
Right.
dependent upon somebody else.
Right, right. That's a very great point that you make, Mother Adama, that we do everything to clean ourselves up cosmetically, you know, aesthetically on the outside, but we're not, you know, cleaning the inside, like the elimination, you know, the internal organs, like we're not paying attention to the pancreas, you know, we're not talking about like the stomach, the spleen, the kidneys, the adrenals, you know, the liver, you know, the gallbladder. Like there's so many situations and fluctuations on the internal that get us away from the eternal, you know?
Exactly.
So
And so our clearing, cleansing, the clearing is spiritual, it's mental, it's emotional,
yeah,
right? But it happens with the liberation of the cells from all of this sludge,
the sludge. Yeah,
all
yeah.
right? So that any negativity, any negative emotions, any fear, any dread, any trepidation, anything that we have experienced intensely is now charged on the fabric of our tissues, our
Hmm.
blood, and our cells.
Yes.
Also, the frustration, the anguish, the fear and whatnot of the animals that you're eating is now charged
Right.
on the blood and in the cells, so that the bipolarism, the schizophrenia, the manic depressive, all of these other issues that we're having are because of the violation that's charged upon our blood, in addition to the white sugar, in addition to the alcohol, in addition to the tobacco, in addition to the marijuana, in addition to the vaping, in addition to whatever else we've done,
Right.
so that that commitment to be cleared and cleansed, the commitment to be restored, the commitment to walk in the integrity of the truth of who you are as this point of the presence of this absolute and supreme intelligence is what I'm advocating. I'm
Yeah.
advocating for the right of all beings to have the right to their lives. I'm advocating, so I'm not just speaking to the issues of Black America.
Mm.
I'm not just speaking to the issues of Africans throughout the diaspora. I am speaking to the right of all orders of existence to have the right to be, because we have all been so absolutely and divinely blessed
Yes.
by the same absolute and supreme intelligence, and we are our own unique divine expressions of it that have been poisoned from the time that we were children, being fed like kids.
I agree. I agree. You take me down memory lane when you're talking about like breaking your fast, like why we just have breakfast, every day, and you're like oatmeal, the cream of wheat, and the porridge, and the grits, and just all the cereals that I used to lather with the fluids from other species.
Right.
And when we're talking about, of course we can talk about racism, and somebody said, well, how can I even talk about racism when there's speciesism? We're subjugating a whole species, we're putting ourselves above whole entire species. Like, how can I get angry at somebody who put my race or my people under subjugation when I'm doing the same thing to another species that's living and breathing? They have a heart, they have feelings, they have emotions, they have children, they have offspring,
Right.
like, how can I, you know, have the right to do that when they don't have a say in that? What animal would
Well,
choose a life of captivity, if given
exactly.
the choice? Yeah.
But that's the programming from the churches.
Okay.
And that's why we have to realize that the church was never, we never had any real obligation or responsibility unto it, in truth. So that if we were denied, if our ancestors were denied the right to read,
Right.
right, during our enslavement here,
Mm-hmm.
and then they gave us the Bible as the thing to read, with the Bible, and would we be freed from it?
Mm-hmm.
Would it free us? And has it freed us?
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah.
So we have been able to take from it that which can really strengthen us. We've heard it all of our lives. I'm not to try to diminish what the strength of character that many came and got, because I've come through a line of ministers.
Right.
You understand? So my mother went into the ministry after my college. Her brother was a minister. My grandmother, who was born in 1899, graduated from Spelman College. All her brothers graduated from Morehouse. They were PhDs and reverend doctors. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? I come from that.
Right.
All right. But I haven't been to church since I was 11, because nobody could talk to me about why the people are dying when the people are the children of God and God doesn't die.
Mm.
But I do what my people do in
Yes.
terms of move the spirit.
Yes.
You understand? So it's like, no, our gifts are already in us. Our wealth is already in us.
Mm.
So the cellular liberation through clearing, cleansing, consecrating, purifying, and getting that which is oxygenating. We're breatharian. Everybody has to breathe. Nobody can live without the breath.
Right.
You can't digest anything if you can't breathe. So let's put it in some water,
Right.
right? We're 80% water, or we're having to reconstitute ourselves to be 80% highly charged mineralized water. But those minerals are going to come from that which is herbs, fresh fruit, leafy greens, and vegetation, and that which has seed that
Yeah.
grows above ground.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but then the sweating the poisons out. Now, to be under nitrates, nitrites, BHA, BHT, artificial colors, pesticides, herbicides, antibiotics, hormones, tobacco residues, alcohol residues, all of these chemicals. These are behavior modifiers. The Germans are behind it.
Mm.
All right. So that which they call food is full of it. So the cleaner we eat, the more the body's trying to loosen this stuff up, but it's not getting out. So now we have to go an extra to get it out. Now,
Yes.
the cravings that many of us had when we were children, and the cravings that we had when we were pregnant for clay, the clay is found deep within the earth. It is the natural detoxifier for the chemicals that don't necessarily get out just because you did a juice fast,
Right.
that don't necessarily get out just because you did a water fast and then you did not do anything to really sweat those poisons out, nor did you do anything extra to open up the elimination through the bowel.
Okay. Yes.
Waiting to have colonics is like waiting to go to the dentist to have the dentist brush your teeth.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
So I'm advocating the use of the clays. They're magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
The use of the enema to really cleanse, not to substitute for the bowel movement,
Right.
but to cleanse after the bowels have moved.
Yes.
As a daily practice, not every now and again, not
Daily.
Saturdays when you off work.
Daily.
Every because God, the intelligence of our being, has not taken a day off.
This is a great point, Mother Adama, because, when you're talking about enemas, of course, so many people will make the argument and they'll be like, oh, but what about the good bacteria and all of this? And should I be worried about this bacteria? And I feel like, as much of an unnatural method that enemas and colonics seem to be unnatural, we've been eating and consuming unnatural things. So we need these unnatural methods to get rid of unnatural waste matter that's uneliminated. Like you said, it's not all eliminated with just the juice fast or just the water fast or just this or that. Sometimes we need to take things even more into our own hands, for sure.
Yeah, particularly if there's been a diagnosis.
Hmm.
You understand? Now, I'm amazed at how many people go to doctors. I haven't been to a medical doctor since I was like 19. All right. I'm amazed at how many people go to doctors and have these checkups. And I'm saying, well, if you've been under doctor's care for all of these years, how in the hell did you get to 4th stage cancer?
Jesus.
You understand? And
Right.
so I'm really reminding us that there are no ones who have come to this earth to do anything other than exalt life. That's what all other intelligences do. They exalt their natural intelligence, their gift. They know their food, they excrete their waste, they know their kind, they perpetuate themselves, they mate.
Yeah.
And they will respond correctly when they sense that their lives are being threatened. The nature of intelligence is that it loves its freedom. They will exhibit and exude frustration, anguish, pain, whatever, in captivity. Mm-hmm. The only thing that soothes that is if they're being loved. Mm. When people get pets, you get pet cubs, bear cubs, lion cubs, whatever, you know what I'm saying? You get these wild animals and you bring them home as babies, they get used to you. Mm-hmm. They're not in their natural habitat, but they can thrive still because of the love. Everything responds to love. The people who are eating the meat of pigs and cows and turkeys and chicken and all of this, those animals were never loved. Mm-hmm. Those animals do not have a natural way of responding to the trauma of being in captivity, overcrowded in worse conditions than what some of our ancestors dealt with, packed like sardines on the bottom of slave ships. This is the Holocaust that is still happening because we have so many ones still feeding off of these violated creatures who never lived a real life. And even if we thought that they could be brought or killed somehow humanely, the fact that they will still exhibit all signs of stress when they realize that their lives are being taken from them. So that their tissues are already poisoned now.
Yes, yes.
There's a documentary that I want people to look at called Christspiracy.
Okay.
Christspiracy. I hope to interview the young man who was a part of that, but he came up from a religious family out of Augusta, Georgia, a European brother. And he began to ask the question, how would Jesus kill an animal? How would Jesus kill an animal? And so he began to ask the preachers and the pastors and the ministers, and they ended up in Israel and asking the rabbis and all of these, and the ones who are thinking they're doing it halal and the other ones who think that they're doing it kosher and all of this. And it's just bullshit. It's not happening. You know what I'm saying? So the reality for us is understanding that this is the primary reason for so much sickness, illness, and disease, because we are participating in the carnage of trillions of animals on an annual basis.
Yeah, trillions, trillions. It's crazy.
And nobody is keeping up with the amount of people who are dying on a daily basis as a result of the law that is in full effect, that what you do unto others is being done unto you.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, Mother Adama, you say trillions. I mean, I heard one statistic where it was talking about, with the trillions of animals that are slaughtered every year just for human consumption, they
Right.
were saying that if humans were slaughtered at the rate that we kill animals, and it's crazy because we grow more food to feed the animals that we eat than we even grow to feed ourselves.
Exactly.
But they said within 47 days, just 47 days, the human population would be gone. It would be gone, erased, if we were slaughtered at the rate that we slaughter these beings. And
Exactly.
you're talking about, when you talked about exalting intelligence and captivity, you also brought to mind Frederick Douglass. I have Frederick Douglass, his picture up there, where he said, when you learn how to read, you will be forever free. And how you take your responsibility, the ability to respond, or the response to the ability, how he took his intelligence into his own hands and didn't like leave it in other people's hands. When I read the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, that changed me, just to read what he went through during that time period and how he rose above all of that oppression. I was like, what is my excuse? What is my excuse? I'm having to look up in the dictionary for these words from a man who was born a slave. He was born into slavery. So
Right.
was there any books? You gave us a documentary, but just like books were his, became his liberation, were there any books that kind of opened your consciousness in that way that you're speaking of here?
Because of my inheritance, right? What I've inherited through coming through ministers. It's certain things that was already charged in me.
Right.
Right. So that the Essene Gospel of Peace, the Masters of the Far East, the trilogies by Alice Bailey.
Yes.
These are things that I read very young. Arnold Ehret's Mucusless Diet,
Right.
Bernard Jensen's Tissue Cleansing through Bowel Management, and doing that cleanse. There are a number of books. Diet for a New America by the Robbins magnate who came out of Baskin and Robbins and whatnot, who really articulates what's going on with the dairy industry and whatnot, because they made billions of dollars on ice cream. And then he saw his uncles pass away. So when he was brought to the boardroom, he didn't want to do it because he saw the sickness of them. Right. Then there's Jeremy Rifkin's Beyond Beef. There are many books that we can read, but at this particular point in time, you can't bury yourself in a book right now. You got to really realize where you are in the presence of this absolute and supreme intelligence and be about the business of consecrating your body. What we've seen is many of the ones who we can exalt and give thanks for their historical revelations and bringing us forward to realize the greatness of who we've come through, whether it was Chancellor Williams, or whether it was Dr. Henry Clark, or whether it was Dr. Benjamin Johanna, or any of those ones. I've not read any of those ones. I've not spent most of my time in books.
Got it.
I've spent most of my time in prayer.
Yes.
In praise.
Meditation.
And clearing and cleansing and purifying and making commitments and putting those commitments in writing and consciously committing to the lineages through whom I've come. And I'm just saying is that for where we are now, we have much more available to us as a result of all of those ones. And this is one of the reasons why I do not subscribe to the thought of the post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Okay.
Because if there was really post-traumatic slave syndromes, there could have never been a Black Wall Street. There could have never been a Rosewood. There would have never been Frederick Douglass. There could have never been a George Washington Carver. There could have never been any of those ones, because they would have got it first.
Mm.
and they would have been rendered dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know enslavement. We know being poisoned.
Right.
We know being indoctrinated.
Right.
We know being violated, molested, raped. We know a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know what it is to be enslaved to anything other than our freaking appetites.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. Yeah. So Mother Adama, when you're talking about for when a person makes the transition and makes the decision, like someone told me about how, the root word when you talk about to decide. And I love how throughout this conversation, you've talked about making a commitment, like to commit,
Right.
and to decide is like to cut off.
Mm-hmm.
When like a doctor makes an incision, they're cutting into something. So to decide is to say, okay, I'm cutting this off to go this way. I'm not going that way. I'm going that way.
Yes.
Do you feel like, these two motivators, when we're talking about pain and pleasure, or inspiration and desperation, do you feel like it usually a person has to be desperate or they can be inspired? Like, what do you feel is the greatest motivator that you've seen throughout the ages of people that commit and decide there's no going back? Do they have to get to that desperate point?
Well, the issue for us and for me, I made a decision at the age of 20, right? To live to make a difference. But I realized that there is nothing that I can give anybody that is greater than who and what they already are.
Right.
Right. And I am consistently exalting that truth and reality that whatever it is we aspire towards, whatever it is we are consciously trying to acquire, you understand, whatever it is we're chasing, whatever it is we want, the bottom line, you will never have anything greater than who and what you already are, but naked. It's not a goddamn thing these people can give you that's greater than who you are. The issue for me is coming to a point where I care to inspire us to accept that as our truth.
Yes.
Not by the egotism and all of the vanity. That vanity is insanity.
Yes.
You understand, where we don't know how to feed our children, but we on Facebook showing all our ass and all of this. And I'm just saying is that no, this is a monetization of our lack of progression.
Wow. Wow.
Because as women, it is our duty, obligation, and responsibility to know how to nourish, to know how to feed, to know how to facilitate our healing. We should have never, ever been under European men and a Western ideology for our healing, because we've not healed. Cutting our breasts off is not healing us. Cutting our wounds off is not healing us. Cutting our babies open, you understand, and taking this and taking the, we're not healed.
Wow.
By butchery.
Yeah.
By sorcery, in the pharmacology.
This hits home. This hits home in a major way. Even just everything that you were saying at the end about, cutting off the breast. My mother, she had breast cancer. Her mother died of breast cancer, and my mother had hers amputated as well. And then just the C-section, emergency C-section, and part of me is thankful that there's certain technology that allows me to be here today. But also when you're talking about butchering, I'm like, it doesn't have to be like that. It shouldn't have to be like that.
Right. But I really am surmising that these ones have always hated women.
Okay.
That's why they took the vows of in order for them to be popes and priests and this and that, they couldn't deal with women. They couldn't live a real life as a real man, as a progenitor of lineages. They couldn't have real marriages. And in order for all of that to be established, the rape and violation of and the overturn of matriarchal communities throughout the world, where this our Aboriginal families, our African families, our indigenous families, or North, Central, or South America, wherever, we're just seeing the escalation of this same hatred of women. But now we are in a place where the edict that has been issued from the exalted realms is for the liberation and the exaltation of the divine feminine, because there is no way that the establishment of the eternal order, the eternal government, or the kingdoms and queendoms of God can properly be anchored upon the planet except through the exaltation and the respect and the refinement and the cultivation of the divine feminine. The divine feminine that is in every woman, the divine feminine that is every creature. Now, most of in the bastardization of the food industry, they do not have any real use for the male. Right?
Right.
So they take the male chicks, suffocate them, grind them up, powder them, and feed them back to the chicken. Right? They're taking the bulls, castrating the bulls, using a pen, shooting them up with all kinds of progesterone, testosterone, and other things to make them want to breed. And then they're breeding the bull with a castrated bull, with a catch to catch the semen, somebody holding it so that when the bull ejaculates, his sperm is put into little vials that is shipped UPS, right?
Yeah.
And frozen in nitrogen, right? So that it can be put into a gun and the cow is put on what's called a rape rack, and they go up the backside of the cow and shoot the sperm into the cow.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
All right, so I'm just saying is that why are we feeding from such wickedness, from such demonic, satanic energy, and then think that because we go to church or we go to mosque or we go to synagogue or we go to temples or whatever, that we should be all right because we praying. Right. When we are not respecting the intelligence of existence itself.
Right, right.
So I'm wanting us to really understand where we are in our now moment of eternity, where if you will not make commitment to your life, if you will not make commitment for your clearing, your cleansing, your consecration, if you will not stop eating the flesh of dead animals, the aborted fetuses of chickens, the pus and mucus of cows, and all manners of acidifying, blocking, and obstructing things, you will definitely not get out of here alive. And then there's nothing that you can do that makes sense. So there's nothing that you can really be successful at. Just because you can sing, just because you look good, just because you got some money, you did all of that, you mastered the game of materiality and whatnot, but you don't have a freaking clue.
It's the temple. So
to take care of yourself, to take care of your children, to honor your wives, to be in a place and space where we are responding correctly and directly to the warfare against us, and to be able to articulate it from the perspective of knowing that the world conquering rampage that started with England and Portugal and Spain and all of these ones, right? Napoleon and all of that has morphed into a global initiative of depopulation and genocide, zero population. And we're complicit, we're complacent, we're co-conspiring with it. And so I'm advocating a boycott of the death industries as grassroots global movement. And I have had conversation with ones on the other continents that they really don't get it.
Yeah.
You understand that the body is 80% or should be 80% highly charged mineralized water. We think that it's just an individual thing as to whether you eat meat or not. So between all of the flesh and all of the flour, all of the cassava, all of the mucus producing things, the gifts that we have are still oppressed.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can speak as well for myself, Mother Adama, that I was under the programming, big time, like I was raised eating everything as well. And it wasn't until my late 20s, like 28, 27, 28, I believe, that when I saw a documentary called Earthlings, that it really clicked for me. And my soul was no longer in agreement with what I was doing. And it wasn't even for longevity. It wasn't for health and wellness. or well-being. It wasn't even for my own vitality. It was for the animals. You know, it was like, what have I been doing, you know, this whole time? And I couldn't do it anymore. It just, that was the line that drew the line for me. So with all of the things that you've seen, with all of the people you've talked to, with all of the places you've been to, with all of the what you've witnessed, you know, in this generation and the next, what gives you hope for the future? You know, like what actually instills within you, like you see the spark of light igniting, or you see something that is raising, like what gives you hope for what we have down the line?
Well, there is no hope. The issue is the knowing. All right? I'm not hoping anything.
Oh, I see. I see. I got you. I got you. So what gives you, yes, what gives you
I
the knowing? Yes.
know the end game here is the establishment of the kingdoms and kingdoms of God. There is nothing that can be successful here except that. Everything else got to go.
Right.
Got to go.
Okay.
You can't be here and be out of order. You can't be here and be disrespectful. You can't be here and be disobedient. You can't be here and not have a commitment to being. You can't be here and not love. You can't be here and not take on the frequency of the energy of the character of who you are and whose you are at this point of the presence of God. You can't be here and not represent your lineages and invoke and call forth the greatness of who you are. You can't be here and just be about some materiality, some insanity, some vanity, some sex, some this, some that, and the other. Nah, y'all got to go.
Okay.
I don't give a shit what hue of people you are.
Mm-hmm.
From the blackest black to the lightest light.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one thing that is guaranteed success here. And that is the order of the eternal and the eternal government being established on the planet and anchored by those of us who know that we have been chosen, who have been answering the call, who will do the clearing, the cleansing, the consecration, the purification, the cellular liberation for the DNA activation to really represent our lineages in the establishment of the eternal order so that we are not a detriment to ourselves. We are not a detriment to our children. We are not a detriment to our grandchildren. We are not a detriment to our great-grandchildren, our great-great-great, our great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great, or a misrepresentation and a violation of our grandmothers and grandfathers, our great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers, great-great-great, the great-great-great-great-great-great-great. We are these ones who have come through those ones who are here to ensure the wellness of these other ones and those ones who've yet to come.
Yes. Yes. For the all.
Now, if men, or those who want to be respected as men, do not come to a point where they can discipline themselves to take on the frequency of the energy of discipleship, the high character of godliness, righteousness, right alignment, right use, faith, and knowing that where you have sown a seed in the womb of a woman, you have responsibility to that. Mm. You understand? What I know is the divisiveness was always intended that we are not able, not capable, not caring to be able to create and maintain happy marriages. Right. We don't even believe in it. We got these ones who are so conscious and they so this and they think that, oh, well, it's about polygamy and I can have this one over here and have this one over there and have this one over there, and you ain't taking care of nobody. You ain't even taking care of yourself. Mm. Well, she can get food stamps, you know, she can get this, she can get that, you know, I'm just saying is that no, we're being held to the accountability of somebody that we're not necessarily seeing. Right. You can be out here on some stupid, but you ain't gonna survive on some stupid. You're gonna have to accept correction. You're gonna have to clear up. You're gonna have to clean up, or you're gonna die. Now the issue is in the realm of eternity, how long will you be dead? In the realm of eternity, if you cannot get out of this alive, if you never activate the fiber, the fabric of your being, if you never take in the reality of the mindset that you are of the eternal, if you never ever self-actualize, self-realize, consciously care to be held in the ever-embracing arms of your absolute and supreme intelligence, if you never do the clearing, cleansing, consecration, purification that allows for the cellular liberation, the DNA activation, so you bring forward the greatness of who you are, if you never do that, I don't think you're going to make it.
Mm.
And if you were smoking and drinking and getting high and feeding off the flesh of dead animals and lapping up on all this toxic women and all they doing, all of this ejaculating and no, man, you're going to be dead. How long will you be dead? Who knows? Most people don't even care. You know what I'm saying? It's like I could take the candle, light the candle in the glass, right? And the candle will burn. And after the candle burns, nobody even considers what happened to the flame. We say it went out. Right. So our spirit is just like that candle flame. In this, it's just going like this. And then when it goes out, don't nobody care.
I mean, to your point, Mother Adama, I mean, I remember driving for Lyft, and I've driven like hundreds and hundreds of passengers, and I could see that, I could see that some people, they really don't care. It's like I remember driving this one lady from the club or a bar. I think I picked them up at a bar, mm-hmm. and she was saying that she felt like somebody might have put something in her drink. She's like, did somebody put something in my drink? And then her next thought was like, well, if I die, I die. And I'm driving them, and I'm like, like, what? I just like, I kept my mouth shut, but I'm like, if I die, I die. She was just,
you don't want to go to an emergency care, urgent care place to see if you've been doing.
Yeah, she was just like, hey, if it's my time, it's my time. She just was resigned, right. Just resigned. So I hear what you're saying, and I feel your energy when you're talking about like how there's a disregard, there's a disregard here. So my goodness, all of these messages were so timely, like so timely. We needed this in this now moment of eternity, as you put. I love this, just giving it to us raw, authentic, authentic, giving it real and just not sugarcoating, as we say, just letting people know. It's kind of like when you walk into a store and there's a clearance sale and you see the sign that says, everything must go.
Right.
Everything must go. You're like, everything must go. There is no continuance without it. So thank you for that.
And are coming to a point where we realize, one, we have the opportunity to do what other ones never saw to do. You understand? So it's like the will of existence intended that each generation become more dynamic than the previous one. The methodology of our oppression through the agenda that is depopulation and genocide is to poison each generation. Each generation is being given more poison than the previous one. Right. All right. So now, by the sheer intention, the intensity of our intention to be able to respond correctly and directly to being under a global initiative of depopulation and genocide, with the conviction and the care and the commitment that we will no longer be a detriment to ourselves, and that we care to be cleared and cleansed. We care to go through the redemption. You understand? We care to be reconciled. We care to be purified. We care to be edified. We care for these bodies to be the temples for the re-enthronement of the true spirits of the living God, Goddess, that is our absolute truth. We care for that because we have duty and obligation to life itself. We have duty and obligation to those through whom we've come. We've got duty and obligation to that which is beating our hearts and breathing us. We have duty and obligation to Mother Earth, to Mother Nature, to the divine feminine, and on behalf of all orders of existence. Yes. Now, you have these ones who want to be rich, and those who have attained millionaire, billionaire status or whatever, from whatever. But the issue is, you cannot be rich when your spirit is demonic. No matter how much money you have, the money don't make you rich. Right? The richness. And this is what we're having to embrace, because there's works. There is works to do that require funding. All right? But most people don't have any commitment to anything greater than themselves and their own degree of what they think their security is. So they want the money because they're insecure. They think that their money is going to secure them. Right. The money is not your God. The money is your servant. But if you are not oriented towards who you are and the responsibility of how you become a vehicle and vessel for the works of God, the love of God, the light of God, the truth of God, the peace of God, the poise of God, the integrity, the high ethic and morality, you understand, then God is going to fund you. We don't have to hoard millions and millions of dollars. Right. But we do have to be in the receptivity. We do have to have a higher light. We do have to have an answer to the calling upon our lives if we can hear it. Absolutely. But if we can't hear it and we can't feel it because we are so stuffed up. So we see that we're those ones who have made a decision to change their diet. They did not know because we're following those ones who thought they knew. Right? So they wrote books. My main job, the main job that I've had the longest was from New Leaf Distributing. It's a metaphysical holistic health book distributorship where I was in 5,000 square feet of all of these books, communicating with all of the health food stores, all the occult bookstores, all the metaphysical bookstores, and all of that all over the country. Yeah. And then when I started doing the advertising in the advertising department, then I was in communication with all the ones who were writing the books. But what I realized is that books and people who write books, they are able to capture what they think they know at that time. But as time moves on, they're promoting what's in the book. They keep promoting what's in the book. They keep promoting what's in the book. But time has moved on. And so there's more. And so when people ask me, have you written any books? I say, yes, I wrote a book years ago called Liberation is a Cellular Function. Yeah. But I didn't publish the book because it didn't make sense to me to publish a book and people would not have the tools for liberating their cells. But the substance of that book is now an hour, 50-minute interview on Vegan Linked. Yes. Right? Where he came, Jeff Adams came from Shelby, North Carolina, spent 5 hours with me. Wow. And he condensed that 5 hours into that hour, 50-minute interview that talks about what motivated me and all of that. Now, since then, I've done interviews with Dr. Bobby Price, which is a even more deep dive into what makes me, what's the story, right? So I don't really want to focus as much on the story as I do the truth. I hear you. In terms of knowing that we have all been saved from something, mostly our parents and ourselves. And we need to be in a place and space where we're willing to bathe in the absolute and supreme intelligence. But we have to have a wholehearted desire for absolute truth. Now, there's a difference between having a wholehearted desire for absolute truth and just doing research. Right. There's a difference between having a wholehearted, unwavering, uncompromising desire for absolute truth than just seeking knowledge. Right. There's a difference between having an unwavering, uncompromising intensity of intention to know that which is absolute truth than just getting an education that allows you to get licensed, certified, and degreed so that you can make some money. Right. We were told to know the truth, and the truth would make us free. But tell me why it is people tell me, well, Adama, you know, everybody. It ain't for everybody. That's what they want. You got the spoon feed niggas, you know, you can't give them too much. You always try to give them too much. I said, well, my orientation is one. I'm not talking to niggas. I'm talking to those who are the intelligences of existence and the children of God.
Yes. 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 Wow. Wow. Mother, Mother Adama, like one of my good friends, they told me that God is like an acronym for good orderly direction, you know, good orderly direction. And when you're talking about I am, intention, action, and manifestation. And so that intention, that action, we hear a lot about the law of attraction, but there is no attraction without action. So when you were talking, one of the books that you read that really profoundly helped you on your journey was the teachings of the masters of the Far East. And in that book, they talk all about the I am presence, the I am, the I am. And I just want to thank you for just embracing and facing and just your duty and obligation, not only to yourself and your own health, your own inner wealth, but everyone else, you know? Like, thank you for accepting and not rejecting or not neglecting your duty and obligation to the world, you know, to this realm, to the cosmos, you know? Like, thank you for this, because this was right on time. This is what we needed. We need this. And just for anybody, if this was their very first time witnessing you and just hearing you and hearing your story, your journey, and they want to be more in tune with you, more in touch, would you please like let people know any websites, offerings, services, like where should people go to receive more?
Well, the direct connect is my life support number, 678-760-9299. All right, people who've been in Atlanta, left Atlanta, I've had that phone number since like 1999. All right, so that's the best way to deal with me is directly. All right, the website, I've had a few websites. I really don't care to have sites per se. And I'm having some issues with the stability of Mother Earth's Blessing.com. So for those who are in the Atlanta area, they can come to the center.
Okay.
Right? I'm open generally from 1 to 8, Mondays through Thursdays, Fridays and Saturdays from 2 to 8. And then Sundays I have an empowerment circle. And that address is 1830 Cheshire Bridge Road, Northeast, Atlanta, 30324. I am always Thursday night, WRFG.org, midnight Eastern time to 3 a.m. There are archives so that you can listen live. Otherwise, if you're asleep like many people are from midnight to 3 a.m. in the morning, you can always catch it later through the archives. Otherwise, Instagram, YouTube, it's The Real Adama Speaks. Spotify and any other podcast platforms, it's Adama Speaks.
Okay.
And so I am providing support for the clearing, the cleansing, the consecration. So not only do you get the internal cleansing clay, the detox bath, the herbs, which are a combination. Now, many people are pumping herbs, but the herbs are the cell's fuel. And most people are not drinking enough to make up for years of mineral deficiency. Because what we've been consuming as vegans and vegetarians is mineral deficient. All right, so my herbs are a combination of, the basic is a combination of about 40 herbs.
Okay.
And then the master blend, which is what I drink myself, it has extra herbs for the brain, the 13 medicinal mushrooms, and extra herbs for the eyes, the liver, the lungs, the kidneys, the parasites, and elimination. Mm-hmm. But those who are not able to get up and down off the floor to do the enemas, then they can, you know, I talk to people. There is no site where you can just buy my products. You can't buy my products. You have to have a conversation with me so I know that you are getting everything.
I respect that.
You understand? Because most of the people who are reaching for me, they're already familiar with Dr. Sebi. They're already with Yaki Awakened. They're already aware of Queen of Four. They're already aware of Jewel Pookrum. They're already aware of so many ones. Dr. Bobby Price, they're already aware. But none of those ones are really reminding you that you were told to love God, love the source of your being with your whole body, heart, mind, with all of your might. You understand? So I'm putting a little bit more in it.
Yes, yes.
Than just what you drinking and just what you taking.
Just a little more seasoning with a little more reasoning, you know?
So that you know, you got to keep the charge.
Yeah.
You understand? So people say, oh, well, sister, well, how much do you charge for consultation? I say, how much do you pay God to talk to God?
Oh, man. Oh,
How
man.
much do you pay God to talk to God? You have to pay attention. You have to pay attention. Right? And so there are ones and ones who are listening. And I've been on radio for 25 years.
Right.
And these people who are listening have never consulted with me.
Wow.
They've never gotten on protocol. They might have changed their diet, but my lamentation is that people die.
Yeah.
They die. Death is a real thing in terms of leaving here without ever having fully lived. Leaving here without ever having fully inundated and infused every fiber of your being with the knowing of your conscious immortality. You understand? Leaving here full of chemo and radiation and pharmaceuticals and without body parts and all of that because we entrusted our lives to people who never had a commitment to life.
Yeah, it happens
So
all too often.
I have a Sunday empowerment circle at my center from 3 to 7 every Sunday because you have to have support. For those who are on my protocols, I have a Tuesday 9 p.m. Zoom call so that we are able to really get activated with community who are doing the internal clearing, cleansing, purification, and consecration. The consecration comes with the praying. The consecration comes with the committing. The consecration comes with the cosmic I am, which is my teacher's writing my voice, 36 minutes, that is a reprogram towards conscious immortality. See, we have to really remember who and whose we are. We have to remember that we are in the realm of eternity and we've come from another realm of eternity. We are in the school of conscious cosmic citizenship in the university of cosmic wisdom for the express purpose of unfolding in the light of the truth so that we are birthed from this realm into exalted realms as embryonic gods and goddesses, continuing the journey of our evolutionary soul development as conscious immortals with the destiny of becoming gods and goddesses.
Yes.
Now, people want to be gods and goddesses here, but they can't control their appetites. They can't, you understand?
Right. First things first.
Creating realms and worlds full of chaos, divisiveness, confusion, crazy, but they got the lingo and they talking all this stuff. And I'm saying, no, let's begin to be discerning because there are those who think they got it, but they don't. How do we know? Because they're still smoking and drinking. They're still getting high. They still think that God is an experience on ayahuasca or mushrooms or peyote or something.
Right.
And I'm saying even when you could have the best marijuana, you could have any of that, and your body's still full of garbage. No, God is a daily experience.
Right. Right.
And your high, you can't get to a high until you get that blood clean. You can't get to a high until you get to your most refined self. There are those ones who've never, ever been 100 pounds. They've always been 170 pounds. You understand? Even as youth, because of how much artificial colors, flavors, meat, dairy, eggs, chicken, fish, flesh. When we are committed to restoring the integrity of the divinity, the sanctity, and the sacredness of our lives,
Right.
when we are committed to the daily clearing, cleansing, consecration, and purification so that our bodies are restored as temples for the re-enthronement of the true spirit of the living God, Goddess. When we do that, then the boycott of the death industries is a natural result of that. We don't have to go picket. You understand? We don't have to hit the streets in March. We don't, you understand? We don't have to make any kind of diatribe or soliloquy against these ones. We just need to stop buying, stop supporting, and then you get to a point where you stop working for these people.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to quit your jobs. I'm telling you to invest in your cellular liberation while you have the money, because that's going to give you the access to your greater thought.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. So thank you so much, Mother Adama. Thank you for this, just the re-enthronement, Thank you for just the message, for your mission, for your purpose, and just being in service. Like, thank you. We need this. We need this.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
And I'm very serious about, there's a protocol. You got to hit it at every level.
That's
Hit it
so
at
true.
every level. And so, yeah, call, listen, do a deep dive, and make the commitments, put them in writing. Begin to really keep track of what it is you're doing daily, because the body hasn't forgotten anything you're not going to remember.
Right. The body keeps the score. You're
Right.
right.
So we're starting our day flushing, cleansing, purifying, but then, the enema bag comes with my protocol. The mucus buster comes with the protocol. So we're busting up the mucus so that the clay works even better. And we're flushing and sweating these poisons out while we are infusing the cells with absolute truth, and then being able to get consistent support.
Okay. And I'll make sure to include the links for people who are not in the Atlanta, Georgia area, the links for people to go to your website as well.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. So much love. So much
Thank you.
love. And just enjoy the rest of your evening, and just thank you. Thank you for the inspiration, and just thank you for the proclamation. We need it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. Much love to you.
All right.
All right. Love.
Take care.
Peace. Thank you.
Wholeness.
Mhm.
Wholeness.